So, this week I actually got over 100 DVDs. Although, granted, that's because I got 100 blank DVDs. So, that joke aside, before we go into these, the non-anime DVD, Big Lebowski, which I bought for the movie party. I guess this claims it's a collector's edition. I don't know if that's actually the case. Whatever. So, I guess actually before we open that one, because I know exactly what's in that one, and it makes sense to do this one first. Wow, this paper seems tougher than normal. I wonder what's up with that. Maybe somebody at Amazon has been watching my videos, somebody higher up saying, he's getting into those DVDs way too easily. Let's see, put that there. What we have here are, to read different sizes, so let's begin with the big one. The Rose of Versailles. Versailles? Part 1. Whatever it is, I can't pronounce it worth shit, but it's still here. I do believe this is a generally considered a classic that maybe just hasn't had the DVD release in ever since this is its first DVD release. And since it's from Nozomi / The Right Stuff, that also means it will be... Actually, I don't think I need to keep that. It will probably be subtitled only. Excuse me. It's Japanese language with English subtitles on screen text. Okay. And I don't know what it's about. The DVDs seem rather plain, so I guess we'll just take a look at the cases. Back to the cases. We're kind of plain, so there we go. I don't know what to think about this anime because I don't even know what it's about. It definitely looks its age, which is kind of interesting because it seems there's been a lot of anime that came out recently that's probably of a similar vintage to this, but they've been touched up so that they don't appear as old. Next up, we got part 4 of Toriko, which I'm trying to remember if I was 1 or 2 parts in. So at this point, I'm officially falling behind on Toriko as well as a lot of other anime due to my doesn't make sense to me status of not getting as much anime watching done as I would otherwise prefer. Oh yeah, I remember the first 2 had this thing in the middle falling out, and the last one, part 3, didn't have that falling out. Somebody even commented on it. And I had thought about it, but nah, I guess I'm not the only one. This one has been recommended to me by as a drama worth looking into. Unfortunately, it's the Blu-ray, so I don't have to worry about holding on to that in my piles of stuff I need to get onto my servers, which I've been falling behind on. The DVD version was late to ship, unfortunately. So it feels like there's a disc loose. So, let's get it back into place. And voila. Looks like this is music related. I guess that should have been obvious here since he's pianoing and he's drumming. Okay. So now, here in the Right Stuff box, I'm going to do this slightly off screen just to double check that these DVDs are safe for YouTube. And with that note, you might have guessed that means that they are actually hentai. Oh, look, a Sound of the Sky. This is actually a neat series. Fine. This is Princess 69. I think I once downloaded a couple episodes of this, so this is getting the rest of it onto the server. And why Princess 69? I guess because for some reason I felt like catching up on hentai lately. So I also bought a couple of other titles. We've got the 2 volumes of Mija here. And the reason I bought this one is I've been kind of curious about it. It looks like it's not as good as I was thinking. And then finally, Urotsukidoji 2, Legend of the Demon Womb. And of course I purchased additional Urotsukidoji stuff, but it just didn't all arrive. I didn't really plan it to be something for this week's update so much as I just knew that some of these are expensive, kind of rare-ish, hard to find because it's Urotsukidoji and blah 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 blah. In fact, I wasn't able to find a copy of Volume 4, and right now my only lead on that is actually a box set for everything, and I'm going to monitor that and maybe get it, I don't know. But I guess that's pretty much it for this week's update. This time I will hold these, I will include these because, you know, the hentai DVDs make up a lot of it. There were a couple of titles that didn't ship. I think another Nozomi title, as well as DVD version of Kids on the Slope. And these were just going to add up enough. In fact, a lot of this month's releases were going to add up enough that I just wasn't going to do any padding this month. Decided differently just for these, just to make an exception. So, there we go. That's this week's anime acquisitions. So, pointing the camera this way for the obligatory discussion on the very few things I did watch. What did I watch? Well, I know I watched the first episode of Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 earlier today because I wanted to get myself to start watching that. Been curious about it, I guess. And I guess it's there's a part of me that knows, based on what it is about, you know, since I know what it's about, there's a part of me that wonders how they take what it's about and turn it into an 11-episode series. I mean, even going beyond 11 episodes would be kind of crazy, but up to 11 episodes still has me kind of scratching my head, since it almost seems like something you would make in a movie, sort of like with Grave of the Fireflies or something like that. Maybe even Tokyo Godfather. I don't know. The basic idea is, you know, you have this important event happen to these people that's supposedly a single event, and I don't get the impression that the storytelling varies between a lot of different people. Maybe it will. I've only watched the first episode, but since the basic premise of the series is that a magnitude 8.0 earthquake hits Tokyo, and it's trying to be a kind of faithful interpretation of what it might mean for that to happen, what kind of things would happen, what kind of things people would experience, etc. It's really interesting for starters because the first episode is all about the kind of build up to the earthquake, and the person who I would assume is the main character and have believed to be the main character, kind of her place in life leading up to that moment. And I can't say that there's a whole lot to say about her place in life other than the fact that, yeah, there's things about it that are definitely frustrating and things I wouldn't want to deal with, blah, blah, blah. Same applies to pretty much any anime character, considering I spend so much time here savoring not going out if I can help it. But all of that aside, whether or not I feel that's effective really depends heavily on where the series goes with it. First episode is never the only episode for this sort of setup, so I'll have to watch the rest of it to have an actual opinion. But I do have a good comment about the first episode, and the reason why I spent so much time talking about it, because I thought the way they tried to portray the earthquake was actually quite nice. Like, now, I live in Texas, which I understand to be a relatively geologically stable area with very few risks of earthquake and earthquakey things, I think. So I've never really experienced one myself. If there have been them, they've just been so subtle that I just never noticed them. So basically, all I have to go off of on what it's like to go through an earthquake is based on pretty much YouTube videos, and I thought that it was kind of interesting watching this, how it kind of reminded me of a lot of those YouTube videos, just in animated form. They wanted you to see what these things looked like. Granted, the bridge swaying like that reminds me more of a video of a bridge that I think was accidentally in resonance with something and just broke itself. But I don't remember the details. That was in differential equations, and that was a long time ago. So all in all, I'm looking forward to watching more of it. But of course, I did that today over my lunch because I figured it would be a fine anime to watch. There wasn't much risk of a coworker looking over my shoulder and saying, "Oh my God, you're watching a really, really raunchy anime. You shouldn't do that at work." And this one's a pretty straightforward people story. That was the impression I got, and that's what it was giving me. So, with any luck, I will go through it a little bit quicker, I guess. But tonight, instead of that, since I had company over like I normally do on Tuesday, I was actually watching the Magical Girl Lyrical Nonoha movie, the first one, which I have watched before, and I haven't watched the second one yet. This will probably be a good excuse to watch the second one. And I think my thoughts on it are pretty much the same as last time. I remember my thoughts pretty well in that even though the first season of Magical Girl Lyrical Nonoha is not rated as high as a lot of the other stuff, I actually like that one more. And the same applies to this movie version of it, which, while it has some better fight sequences, I do prefer the setup of everything else in the first Magical Girl Lyrical Nonoha series. And then with Magical Girl Lyrical Nonoha A's, I thought that the action was spectacular, but something about the story felt off about that one. And so A's is definitely really cool, but also a little weaker in my book. So for the movies, you know, like I'm saying, the first movie is, I don't like it as much as the first series. I still enjoy that first series the most out of all the Nonoha stuff. But the movie I still think is really worth watching, simply because for its really new stuff, it focuses on Fate Testarossa. Since the series was pretty much about Nonoha, that was a really good idea on their part, because the truth of the matter is, within the context of a single movie, you can't really properly build up Nonoha like she was in the series, and that's kind of why I like the series, I guess. So, to be fair, it's not really easy to do that in the movie. But giving us more background and understanding for Fate Testarossa is actually really good. And is definitely the thing that I enjoyed when rewatching this movie again. Now, I have no comment on the second movie, which is a remake of the A's, of course, in movie format. But again, hopefully this will be a good excuse to eventually get around to watching that, so that I didn't spend all that money to import it from Japan for nothing. Which is also why I should probably watch From Up on Poppy Hill. But I'm always falling behind. I think other than that, maybe I was almost finished watching Kamichu, and there's nothing to really say about the ending of Kamichu if I didn't say anything before, because it's Kamichu. It just kind of ends really well. I guess a lot of free time got spent getting Charles through third season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that is definitely a worthwhile ordeal. Brother was over, and so there was some Farscape watching and some Justice League watching, and there we go. That's where it all disappears. Oh yeah, and the Big Lebowski. which was okay. Not really my thing. I think I preferred Oh Brother Where Art Thou slightly more in this context of kind of a plotless flow of random experiences, maybe. But that's not really anime, and I think I've talked about all my anime watching, at least. Other than admitting that over this past week I have been digesting some of the Naruto episodes I just watched. Not did I mention last week I watched them? I probably did. So yeah, I've been digesting a couple of those episodes again because they were neat. And I finally got to see the context of that one snapshot that I knew was a lot of people were complaining about that. I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to try and explain it because I have to start naming characters and blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and end my rambling there and give a shout out to the people who are still around, who aren't watching because nobody said they wanted me to came up. But shout out to Charles, JFS, and the Fat Kid for Life. Y'all, hopefully y'all have a nice week. Oh yeah, and I saw Iron Man 3. That one was good. And next week is 5, 6, 7. Yeah, next week should include My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 2. Well, that's cool. So yeah, y'all have a nice week.